Hey, William, good to see you.
Hey Jill, how are you?
I'm good. So, hi, everyone. I'm Jill Berkowitz. I'm the community manager at Clerk Chat,
I'm Will. I'm our AI implementation specialist.
and I am coming to you guys from the United States in New Jersey. And William is,
I'm coming from Glasgow, Scotland, so we're quite far apart across the pond.
but you know what? We're two different time zones and we make it work. And we love these weekly conversations. I have hit summertime here. The weather by you looks a little questionable at the moment.
Need it raining, but we'll look it up, I'm sure.
All right, so let's get to it. We've got 4 topics to cover today: safe superintelligence, Adobe updates, 2 things: how its stocks are performing versus an issue with the FTC, Salesforce's LLM benchmark, and then Amazon powered AI cameras, which I'm curious your opinion on. So let's start first. OpenAI co-founder Ilya Sutskever announces rival AI startup. I read this article in the Financial Times. He was OpenAI's co-founder, although he left the company about a month ago, and he has since launched Safe Superintelligence, SSI Inc., a couple days ago. He started this company with a former OpenAI employee, Daniel Levy, and an AI investor and entrepreneur, Daniel Gross, whom you may also know as formerly a partner at Y Combinator. I'm understanding that this company will be a lab for machine intelligence. They posted on X in quotes, "We plan to advance capabilities as fast as possible while making sure our safety always remains ahead." So my question for you is, or just in general, when OpenAI was originally founded in 2015, I believe it intended to be a not-for-profit company. Yet years later, it's a really successful business. So I'm curious, how will SSI Inc. maintain its mission to focus on safety, security, and progress?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because OpenAI, they were originally non-for-profit. They were also open source, hence OpenAI. And since that, they're now profit and closed source, for-profit and closed source. So yeah, it's completely, they've kind of done a U-turn on their founding policies and ideologies there. But yeah, I think obviously SSI will have the same problems because they're at the forefront of intelligence and it's the next big thing. There'll always be that profit motive, that, easy catch for money grab that they can go after. I think it really comes down to choosing the right people at the company. So Ilya, for example, he ousted Sam Altman in November 2023. So he was already kind of against losing focus of the vision of OpenAI's original vision. So I think having him as at the forefront of the company, and there's also 2 other co-founders, Daniel Levy is one, who again is of a very similar mindset. I think that's the key, making sure they hire people that are really backing this vision, which means that even though profit will always be a motive, they won't deviate from their true vision.
Staying true to their values.
Even in the next month, how it goes,
Right. Well, so that's my question, because from 2015 to 2024, it's like just shy of 10 years. A lot can happen in 10 years. So if now we fast forward to 2034,
Mm.
will SSI still be what it's intended to be now?
Yeah,
We have to wait and see.
we'll have to see. Yeah.
So next up, Adobe posts biggest gain since 2020 after AI sales success. I had read this on Yahoo Finance. It's a really interesting chain of events for Adobe, actually, because last Friday, this article explained that Adobe shares had their biggest gain in more than 4 years due to all of its AI features. I believe the shares rose more than 15% at one point that day. And Adobe's website actually lists all of its features, some of which have been around for 10 years. And I think many of us who are using Adobe and have been using Adobe may not even realize that we've been using AI-powered features over the years. This is all really good news for Adobe. However, I don't know if you had heard, the FTC is not happy, not related to AI, but supposedly, Adobe is not very forthcoming about an early termination fee for one of its subscription plans. It's like an annual but monthly plan, and it's apparently making it very difficult for consumers to cancel their subscriptions. And so consumers have been complaining about this. I guess the Department of Justice got word, and there has since been a complaint filed. So I think it was really interesting. Within 1 week, we heard this high and then really low news about Adobe. So I have two questions. Do you happen to know which AI features from Adobe are most popular? And then my next question, if they weren't really transparent about subscription fees, do you think this impacts consumer trust in the Adobe brand? If the stocks went up because of AI, I wonder if something like this concern with the FTC could actually cause the stocks to go down.
Mm. Yeah, so the Adobe features which are most popular, I think they're related to their Premiere, their video editing and photo editing software. If you have like an image of mountains, but there's like cables in the way, or like a cable car. Yeah, I'm thinking of in Canada somewhere, you can just highlight it and say, remove this image, remove these cables, and it'll get rid of it instantly like that. So instead of spending, half an hour to an hour like editing it out, it would just instantly go, which makes it much more accessible for people. And the same with video software as well. So you could say, generate an image of someone walking along these mountains, and it'll add it in perfectly realistic. So I think those are the most popular features. They also have like PDF tools where you can search a PDF with AI and ask questions about that. So it's really across their whole suite of products, they've introduced this AI line. And I think the fact that Adobe, a company that's kind of old, it stood the test of time, that their stock price can jump 15% in one day due to a new AI feature, is kind of ridiculous, and showing how much of an impact new AI products can have on companies, established companies. And then, to answer your second question, if something like not being transparent about subscription fees could cause a downward trend, I mean, yeah, I think it certainly could. I think that's also common with a lot of subscription platforms, like you want to cancel and then you can't, or there's a hidden fee. So yeah, maybe that's a bit more run-of-the-mill type of misleading.
Well, I was actually even thinking like, okay, so fine, Adobe was called out for this. But how many other companies out there have like this fine print with an asterisk somewhere hidden in that it's there? You just happen to not read it. I don't think Adobe is the only one who probably shares this information similarly.
Oh, yeah, certainly not. I mean, even like Wi-Fi, cancelling Wi-Fi is notoriously difficult. You end up having to pay like the rest of the subscription for another year or something ridiculous. So yeah, I think that's kind of common for big companies to do.
So funny. So since we're talking about well-established companies in AI, I'd love to bring up Salesforce a little bit. So Salesforce announced the world's first LLM benchmark for CRM. I found this to be particularly interesting since ClerkChat has the ability to connect to Salesforce for those companies who happen to use it as their CRM of choice. So Salesforce AI Research created this benchmark, and they are the team at Salesforce that's responsible for researching and developing AI, but they created the benchmark to help businesses make decisions related to incorporating generative AI into their CRM system. It's a way to figure out how LLMs perform across accuracy, speed, cost, and trust. Those seem to be the four main core areas that the benchmark is looking at. And I grabbed this quote: organizations can use this benchmark to compare LLMs, identify the best solution, and make more informed decisions that will deliver customer success and propel their business forward. This is directly from the Salesforce website. Do you think that more industries will begin to use, maybe they already are, benchmarks similar to what Salesforce just created when evaluating AI models and what's best to infuse in their businesses?
I think it's interesting that a lot of different AI companies use benchmarks to compare their models. So for example, ChatGPT and Anthropic will have benchmarks like an undergraduate level knowledge or graduate level knowledge or coding knowledge to compare. But what's even more interesting is that Salesforce has now created this new benchmark for a niche LLM, like a CRM LLM. It's a bit of a mouthful, which is really cool because now you can
So many acronyms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a new acronym every day. Yeah, you can now directly compare LLMs for this specific use case, and it kind of develops like a new USP. Like now, Salesforce could say we're number one in this benchmark that we just created, and it's like, ooh. So yeah, I think it is interesting, and that more companies will start to do that, as it gives them like a bit of instant kudos for a new area that LLMs are entering into. What do you think?
I was pretty intrigued by it, and I thought it was smart because so many people go into, hey, I want to incorporate AI, but where do I even begin? So I think Salesforce found a way to help that group of people figure out which LLM is maybe best suited for their use case.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see which other ones come into this area now with this same benchmark as their baseline. Like, oh, look, we actually are now better than Salesforce at their own benchmark.
The last topic I wanted to discuss was Amazon-powered AI cameras used to detect emotions of unwitting UK train passengers from Wired. I'm just picturing these closed captions TVs somewhere in the tube or, the underground system, and none of us know about this. So in the last couple years, there were 8 train stations in the UK that have been using AI surveillance technology with CCTV cameras. They're using object recognition, which is machine learning that can identify items. And its goal is to identify problematic or inappropriate behavior, including safety, trespassing, tons of other things, but it's really a testing for how it could be used later. The images are also gathering more demographic style data, including potential age, gender, emotions. There were some concerns, though, including whether or not this is a big brother type surveillance. And additionally, that technology doesn't always provide accurate detection. Obviously, if they catch you going through a turnstile and you have like a weird expression on your face, for that 5 seconds that the TV caught that, how can it technically be accurate, right? I don't think that, or if you're on a phone call while they capture your expression and you're actually responding or reacting to something that someone's saying to you on the phone, it doesn't necessarily reflect your emotion of the day, right? I don't think there are any laws necessarily being violated. I know that there are separate laws for audio versus video rules. And I have to also imagine those rules vary by location. So I'm not sure what the rule is in the UK. But regardless, since you're really familiar with the UK, obviously, do you have any opinions, assuming it's possible you've unknowingly at some point been recorded and possibly used for data purposes?
Yeah, well, I had no idea about this, but apparently it's been in place since 2022, this monitoring system. So it's already been out for like at least 2 years, which is kind of crazy. The other thing is as well, like there's so many cameras everywhere that like we just don't notice, and it's just normal life, right?
Right. You drive through traffic lights and there are like traffic televisions capturing what's going on the roads in shopping malls or stores, as an example. They're everywhere.
We are already constantly monitored. Yeah, in terms of, I don't actually know the legal aspects around passing that data through an LLM, if that's something you can do. And the thing I found that was interesting was it is very helpful to use it to monitor like inappropriate behavior, or an example I think of is like after a football match, if you can identify like 2 crowds that are like about to get in a fight. I don't know, that's just the only thing I can think of that right off the top of my head.
Maybe it could be proactive and anticipate ahead of time.
Yeah, or like a busy station and be like, okay, like let's put just more kind of people there to monitor it. But on the article I read, it said that it's used to kind of make ad targeting even better. So you can analyze like your emotions and then say, oh yeah, like this is perfect ad for this person right now. So you can basically make more ad revenue, which I thought was a bit turning the cogs of capitalism even further, isn't it? If you're using it for that, which I guess is also inevitable. But yeah, I think there's like
art of persuasion, right? It adds a whole psychological level to it.
Yeah, it takes it to another level.
Okay, William, this was awesome. I can't wait to chat with you again. I'm curious where you'll be next week, if Scotland or someplace else. So we can follow you around the world.
Yeah.
Okay, you have a good week, William. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Joe, and you. Speak next week.